Oh, cool. Look, it's been a few days since the match in Christchurch. Just having a bit more time to reflect on what was a big win. Is there anything to come out of that stands out that you need to work on come Adelaide this weekend? Either of you, it's fine.
Yeah, I think there's always things to work on. So we've been back in the dojo this morning, perfecting what it looks like for us at the breakdown, and defensively we can probably talk a wee bit more to that. Set piece wise, we definitely need to spend a bit of time on our scrum this week. Pretty happy with our attacking lineouts, but I think there's pressure we can put on them defensively at lineout time too.
And I guess being back overseas, playing in Australia, the prospect of that and getting away from New Zealand, I guess how much does that help you in your preparations of what's a big year as well?
Yeah, look, it's always good to get out of New Zealand. We spend a lot of time together with fewer distractions, so it's great for the players. It's also adds to the challenge really of having Australia. They're at home, they'll be hurting, so they'll come out firing probably this weekend. So it adds to the challenge for us, which is great for our preparations for the World Cup.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Hi there, guys. It's Joe here from Stock. Hey, I was just going to ask first of all, given that this is at this stage, I think your last scheduled test before the World Cup. Appreciate you might not want to say too much, but are we expecting more changes this week and a couple more players to get an opportunity or two? Given the World Cup's approaching quite quickly.
Yeah, I think we're at a space where we're trying to have a look at what some combinations will look like. We know how important that is, but we've also got to provide opportunities for people to put their hand up and do their best to showcase and express themselves in terms of leading up into that World Cup selection. So there's probably a bit of a mixture of that.
And are you quite happy with where the forward pack has been at? There was one area last year particularly that struggled, but it just seems like in full test it's come on leaps and bounds, and you mentioned a bit about those combinations. Are you a bit closer to knowing what like the type 5 and the back row is sort of going to look like for the World Cup?
Yeah, I think so. Been really impressed with everyone who we've brought over and what they've showcased so far. But there's also people that are working at home and are doing a really good job of doing that in the FBC competition too. So nothing's finalised yet. The door's open for everyone, and people just got to keep pushing, I think.
I guess this would sort of be more to you, whereas given you've been with the team a lot longer, but is this the fittest Black Ferns team that you've known while you've been with the team collectively as a group?
Yeah, I'd say we'd be pretty close. Obviously, 2017 World Cup. In World Cup years, we tend to have a bit more, bigger carrot for the players to work for. So, probably pretty normal for me to see in World Cup year, a bit more competition, players working a little bit harder, really desperate for selection. So, probably similar to 2017, but just had a look this morning in the gym, and geez, they're working hard. So, I think we're in a great place.
And are you satisfied with the next sort of 6 or 7 weeks? Basically what I'm asking is the next 6 weeks the ideal prep for you guys for the World Cup, or is there anything else you'd like to add in what you've got lined up in the next 6 or 7 weeks?
Yeah, look, I'm pretty happy with where we're at. We've got some plans for training against men again, or having scenarios against boys. Might be line out defence, etc. So that's always a good challenge for us. And there might even be some announcements of other things happening as well. So we've got a plan in place that I think is pretty comprehensive. We're really happy with where the players are at, and of course the hubs are going fantastic at the moment. So when they go back to their provinces, they're working really hard. We've got great expertise in the provinces as well as competition in the provinces. So I think we're in a really good space, mate.
Cool. Just finally, were there any sort of injury updates from the weekend? Like I saw that Tyler Nathan Wong went off with a concussion. Is there any sort of injury news from the weekend?
No, not really.
Not really?
I think they're all pretty good.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Hi guys, Kate Wells here from CB. I hope you're well. Just a quick word on how you think those Sevens girls are like, Tyler have gone, coming into the squad so quickly, coming off the Com Games.
Well, look, we're very impressed by them. They're highly professional. They've been professional for a long time, and every time they come in, it's impressive how quickly they learn, how quickly they're able to adapt. I think they'll admit as quickly as we would that some of the finer points of you only have 1 week to train with the team, you miss a few things. There's only so much advice, so much information you can take on, but I mean overall they did a fantastic job and really put their hand up.
Yeah, and are you hoping that some more of them put their hands up perhaps after that Sevens World Cup?
Yeah, look, like Whitney alluded before, we've still got players in the FPC doing what they can to push for selection. It's the same in the Sevens environment. We've got players that we're talking to regularly. We've got players sending us footage of trainings and the Sevens games, showing us some of the skills we've asked them to show they can perform. So the plan's pretty comprehensive to give them all a really good chance. It's going to be some headaches though, and the reality is some really good players are going to miss out.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, hi guys. Nikki Stars here from News Park. How you going? You, not just to speak to Australia, but were you sort of feeling like perhaps you need a bit of a tougher test this weekend after what transpired last weekend?
I think the reality is the biggest pressure we put on ourselves is in the way we perform. So regardless of who the competition is, there's markers that we're trying to achieve, and we set out and met some of those, but we've still got a long way to go for where we want to be come World Cup time. We certainly haven't ridden Aussie off as an opponent this weekend and didn't want to take them lightly last week either. So I think at home, with coming off that loss, like they're going to be firing this week, and we've got to make sure that we don't go into that complacent.
I guess Wayne Smith did point out that while you did do a good job on them last week, if there is a skill set that still needed improvement, is there anything specific that you worked on this week?
Oh, there's a number of things. It's quite interesting. I had a media the other day and the interviewer had a giggle with me because as a defence coach, unhappy with the try in the 79th minute, even though there was no tries before that, and of course we scored 50 points, but I think Wayne felt that we probably left 6 or 7 tries out there. There would have been different tries, but opportunities we didn't take. So he really tried to hone in on the skill set of where that try came from, but also our tries that we missed. So what are the skill sets that we really need to be sharper at to take those opportunities next time?
And also, again, no disrespect to these Sevens players that are coming in, but you're now in a stage where you don't have any other games leading up to this World Cup. You've got these players that are keen to be a part of this World Cup, but one of the biggest challenges is going to be the strength of the English and the French forward packs and their ability at the breakdown. It's going to be pretty hard to perhaps bring some of those Sevens players into that environment and know that they're going to be able to do that job for you.
Well, most of them are in the back, so there's a few less breakdowns back there, and most of them played in Opiki earlier in the year as well. So they showed what they can do in Opiki against some of the best players in the world. So I think we've got a pretty good handle on where their strengths and weaknesses are and where they could fit into our squad.
Yeah, absolutely, and I guess too playing in Australia will be a different vibe, and obviously Australian supporters, they're supporting them, so it will be a tougher challenge.
Yeah, it's always hard to play away from home, and I think the Christchurch test was probably testament to how much having a crowd in behind you and backing you can influence and have an impact on the game. So having the Australian men's team play after us too will hopefully increase the numbers that we get in that test. So it'll be a really good challenge for us, and it'll be exciting for them to have that backing of their home crowd.
And just finally from me, do you Wayne Smith and you guys who've come in, you've been here for a short period of time, you've made great leaps forward. Do you wish that there were more games, more time before this World Cup is upon you?
No, you go. You've already started.
I think it's something that you can't control. So it is what it is, and we can't change that, so we've just got to do what we can with the time that we've got, and I'm pretty happy with how we're tracking.
It also adds to the intensity, right? So as we said before, there might be some changes this week in the selection, so some others might get a chance to show what they've got, so they'll get a chance to do that, and that adds to the intensity of training, adds to the intensity of our preparation and performance, so I think it's a strength.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Okay, guys. Clay from Radio New Zealand here. Nikki was just asking about tougher tests. I just wonder how much you're reading into the results, per se, in these tests heading into the World Cup.
I think Whitney's already answered that, and probably so have I, in the sense that we're not happy around a few things still, and we mark ourselves by our own standards. So training was intense this morning, probably one of the most intense I think we've been involved in. So there's no signs of anyone getting complacent or thinking things are going to be easy this weekend. There's massive, people competing for positions, so there's massive competition there, and everyone's trying to put their hand up to try and make it to this home World Cup. So we're challenging ourselves, and we're often training against ourselves as well. So there's some real asset in some of those moments.
And just Wayne talked after the test about one of the things he was sort of a little bit disappointed about was skill execution. How do you try and remedy that in the space of, when you've got travel and stuff as well? It's something that can sometimes be hard to remedy in a week. So how do you go about that?
Yeah, that's something that we're always working on. So there'll be patches in training and part drills that we sort of come away and look at those things that we didn't quite execute, and a huge part of that will be how do we put ourselves under pressure around that skill execution, so that when we come into the game, it's not the first time that we're feeling that.
Cool. Thanks, guys. All the best for the weekend.
Just ask one more. You mentioned that the door's wide open. Players are putting their hands up for chances for this World Cup. How much emphasis do you also put on building combinations heading into the World Cup as well?
Yeah, look, that's one of our challenges, building those combinations. We've had a number of players now starting together as we've tried to rotate players around them. So, hopefully that's going to pay dividends later on. Then, of course, we've got a World Cup to build through as well. So some of that will have to happen, in those trainings I mentioned earlier over the next few weeks, and then some of it will have to happen at the World Cup itself as we hopefully build towards a quarterfinal and a semi-final. So, if anything, that's probably something we've been very conscious about, but we've had to balance out with giving players a chance.
Is that difficult then almost relying on trainings when you've only got this one game and nothing else scheduled as of yet? But is that difficult to try and build combinations in training because you may not get that sort of game time intensity?
I wouldn't call it difficult, but it's something we've been aware of and that we've planned around and, planned our trainings around, and also, like I said, picked our squads around. So keeping a bit of a spine going with the similar players, but then rotating others in around them.